I never thought I'd become the kind of person who checked my wife's phone. For 10 years, I trusted Emily with everything. We had 2 kids, a quiet house in Ohio, and what everyone around us called a perfect marriage. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We laughed over bad reality TV, argued about whose turn it was to do the dishes, and planned family vacations months in advance. Nothing about our life suggested I had a reason to be suspicious. Then one Saturday morning, everything changed because of a simple notification. Emily had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she took her daughter to soccer practice. Mine had died overnight, and I needed to call my brother about helping me move some furniture. Her phone suddenly lit up. "Miss you already, Redheart." I assumed it was from one of her girlfriends. They always sent overly affectionate texts. Without thinking much about it, I unlocked the phone. We had shared passcodes for years. But the message wasn't from her best friend. It was from someone saved as Sarah Yoga, except the preview underneath made my stomach drop. "Last night was worth the wait." I froze. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Sarah borrowed someone else's phone. Maybe they were joking. Maybe. I opened the conversation. The first message I saw wasn't from today. It was from 3 weeks earlier. "I can't stop thinking about that hotel." Then another. "He still has no idea." My hands started shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I scrolled upward. The messages didn't go back weeks. They went back months. Then years. Pictures had been deleted, but the conversations remained. There were discussions about secret lunches, fake business trips, excuses she told me. Every lie carefully planned before she even walked out the front door. I couldn't breathe. The worst part wasn't even discovering she cheated. It was realizing how effortlessly she'd lied to my face every single time. I remembered every girls' weekend, every conference, every time she kissed me goodbye and promised she'd be home Sunday evening. Now every memory felt poisoned. I kept scrolling until I reached a message from nearly 8 years ago. "I don't think I can leave my husband. The kids are too young." My heart stopped. 8 years? This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-night stand. This was another life. Then I noticed something even stranger. The contact wasn't actually Sarah. Near the top of the conversation, there was a message saying, "If he ever checks, remember you're saved as Sarah." Whoever this person was had deliberately hidden behind a fake name. I clicked the contact information. No profile photo. No email. Just a phone number. One I'd never seen before. I copied it into my phone. The first search result nearly made me collapse. The number belonged to a local construction company. A company owned by someone named Michael Carter. The name sounded painfully familiar. After a few seconds, I remembered why. Michael had attended our wedding. He'd stood in the second row beside Emily's college friends. Over the years, he'd even come to a few barbecue parties at our house. He shook my hand. He played basketball with me in the driveway. He smiled while my kids called him Uncle Mike. I ran to the hallway closet and pulled out an old wedding album. There he was, standing less than 10 feet from us while we exchanged vows, smiling in every group photo. My stomach twisted. How long had this really been going on? The answer arrived before I even had time to process the question. Another notification appeared on Emily's phone. "Delete our chat after you read this. Your anniversary dinner is tonight. Don't make him suspicious." I stared at those words for what felt like an eternity. Tonight. Our 10th wedding anniversary. And apparently, they had already planned how to fool me. I put the phone exactly where I'd found it. By the time Emily returned home with our daughter, I'd managed to wash my face and force myself to act normal. Every instinct told me to confront her immediately, but another part of me needed answers first. That evening, she handed me a neatly wrapped gift and smiled. "Happy anniversary." I looked into her eyes and wondered how many times she'd smiled at me like that after spending time with Michael. We went to dinner at the restaurant where we'd celebrated our first anniversary. She laughed at the waiter's jokes, reached across the table to hold my hand, and talked about taking the kids to Disney the following summer. I barely spoke. Every word she said sounded rehearsed. When we got home, she went upstairs to shower. I opened our family laptop. Emily had left her email logged in. I wasn't proud of what I was doing anymore, but after what I'd already seen, I wasn't looking for excuses. I was looking for the truth. Buried in her inbox was a folder labeled travel. Inside were hotel confirmations I'd never seen before. Not business conferences. Not girls' weekends. Luxury hotels less than an hour from our house. Some reservations were only for one night. Others lasted entire weekends. The dates lined up perfectly with every work trip she'd ever told me about. Then I found something that hurt even more. An email draft she had never sent. It was addressed to a divorce attorney. The draft was almost 2 years old. It read, "I don't know if I should leave. He's a wonderful father and has never treated me badly. I'm just not in love with him anymore." I read that sentence over and over. She admitted I hadn't abused her. I hadn't neglected our family. I wasn't controlling. She simply stopped loving me, yet chose to keep living a lie while letting me believe everything was fine. The next morning, I called an attorney before I called anyone else. He gave me one piece of advice. Don't confront her until you've protected yourself financially. For the next 3 weeks, I quietly gathered documents, bank statements, mortgage records, retirement accounts, insurance policies. I even discovered a credit card I'd never known existed. It had thousands of dollars in hotel charges, expensive restaurants, and gifts. Every payment had been made over nearly a decade. The affair hadn't just stolen my trust. It had cost our family tens of thousands of dollars. When I finally confronted Emily, I didn't yell. I placed a folder on the kitchen table. Wedding photos, hotel receipts, printed text messages, bank statements. She looked at the papers for less than 10 seconds before her face turned white. "I can explain." I shook my head. "No. I think I've listened to explanations for 10 years. She started crying. She said it had just happened. I slid another stack of messages across the table. 8 years ago isn't just happened. She admitted everything. Michael had been part of her life before we married. They'd reconnected less than a year after our wedding and never completely ended the relationship. Whenever they fought, she'd come home and act like the perfect wife. Whenever they made up, she'd invent another work trip. The lies became routine. She said she stayed because she didn't want to break up the family. I asked the one question I couldn't stop thinking about. Did you ever love me? She looked down at the floor for several seconds. I did. Past tense. That single word hurt more than every message I'd read. The divorce wasn't dramatic. There were no screaming matches. No broken dishes. Just paperwork, mediation, and 2 children who deserved parents capable of being honest. Michael disappeared the moment the affair became public. According to mutual friends, he wasn't interested in building a real relationship once the secrecy was gone. Emily lost both the fantasy and the marriage she tried to keep at the same time. 2 years have passed since then. Our kids are doing well. They split their time between both homes, and we keep things as civil as possible for their sake. As for me, rebuilding trust has been the hardest part. Not trusting other people. Trusting my own judgment. For years, I'd ignored small inconsistencies because I believed love meant giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Now I've learned something different. Real love doesn't require endless excuses. It doesn't survive on carefully crafted lies. And if someone has to create a fake contact, fake trips, fake stories, and fake promises just to keep you in the dark, the relationship ended long before the truth finally came out. Sometimes the most painful discovery isn't that someone cheated. It's realizing they gave another person the honesty, loyalty, and future you thought belonged to your marriage all along.